Hello flight simmers and welcome back to the flight line, and today we're going to be flying something slightly different. We're going to be flying a general aviation IFR flight from Blackpool here in the UK over to Leeds Bradford Airport. We're going to be flying in the Cessna 172 and we're going to be flying on VATSIM, although again it doesn't look like there's any controllers actually available on VATSIM, which is a shame, but we'll do the flight anyway. If you have a look at my Sky Demon now, which is coming up on the screen, I've set up the route. It's a very simple route, which is why I've picked this one particularly for doing this. And the route is from, if I just choose the pilot log here, it's from Blackpool to Pole Hill, which is a VOR radio beacon, and then from Pole Hill to EGNM Leeds Bradford. Now in reality, flying this route, we would be under radar control the whole time from air traffic control, and then we would probably get radar vectored into Leeds Bradford. But in this case, because we don't have the ability to do that, we're going to fly unless a controller came on board for Leeds Bradford before we got there, we're going to be intending to fly the instrument approach for runway 32. Is it 32? Yeah, runway 32. So what I've done is in Sky Demon, I've put the instrument approach play in geo-referenced in Sky Demon so that we can see what we need to do to fly this instrument approach when we arrive at Leeds Bradford. So we'll be basically flying to overhead the airfield, then we'll be turning on to 154 degrees heading, and then we'll be turning to intercept the localizer 319 degrees to land at Leeds Bradford. We'll be coming in at 4,000 feet on the vertical chart there to 4,000 feet, we're class A, so 4,000 feet to 2,300, and then intercepting the glide slope at the final approach point. Yeah, looks quite straightforward. It's a fairly straightforward approach and a fairly straightforward route. So we're going to do that today with no reference to the ground. We're going to do it entirely based on instruments, even though it isn't, unfortunately, we're doing real weather and the weather isn't, unfortunately, IMC conditions, but we'll do it anyway. So let's get going. Battery on, fuel switch on, mixture rich fuel pump, that should be plenty, beacon on, clear prop. Okay, we're starting. Take parking brake on. We need 1,000 RPM to bring everything up to temperature. Okay, we have a good start. So we're going to pop the alternator on and the avionics. And there we go. So we don't have any route in any of the systems so far. I'm going to attempt to set all this up from scratch rather than doing any of it with from Microsoft bringing it across automatically. So the first thing we're going to look at is, I should have probably done this before we got in, it's if we have sufficient fuel. We do have plenty of fuel for the journey today. We need 48 litres is the minimum requirement, and we have about 70 litres there, 15 US gallons, which is about 70 litres. So the next thing I'm going to do is look at radio aid. So the first radio aid that we need to tune is Pole Hill, which is the VOR. So that's 112.1, so I'm just going to zoom in here so we can see the equipment. I'm just going to find the VOR. I think it's this one here, nav frequencies. That's com, where's nav? Oh, here we are, it's up the top here. I always get mixed up between the two. So let's just go to, there we go. So we want 112 and 112.1. Go the other way. and we'll just make that live. So that's going to be our first one. We can see straight away that VOR1 has gone, nav1 has gone to that setting. And then the second thing I'm going to put in is the ILS for Leeds Bradford. So I'm going to put in 110.9, which is the Leeds Bradford ILS, and that I'm going to keep that under the bar there, so I can just switch that in as and when I need it when we become overhead Leeds Bradford. The second thing I'm going to do, I can see that the VOR is identified there. If I want to identify it manually, audibly, I can just pop, and we should be able to hear its Morse code there. So I'm going to turn that off again. So there we go. Then I can adjust the OBS here for what I want to follow into when I'm following into Pole Hill, what I want to follow. So basically, just going to look back at my course. Struggling with my thingy at this second. Just going to remove that instant approach chart. So it's pretty much 2.7. Well, 9.5 is our route, so we'll set it at that, and we'll try and hold that to, and we want 9.5, which is there. So that means we're going towards following the 9.5 radial, which goes through Pole Hill, and we're pretty much on it there, which is interesting. So we'll probably have to refine that again once we take off, because obviously we're going to take off and fly around and then intercept that radial. So that's our VOR setup. That's our first navigation aid setup. We will set up the rest when we come to yeah, that's all fine. We don't have any waypoints in here, so I'm not going to put any in for today because it's such an easy route. I don't know whether I can put a procedure in. Let's have a look on the I don't really know how to work this that well. Select arrival. No. I think because I haven't put a yeah, we don't need to do that anyway. We don't need any of that. So we've put in for Pole Hill VOR. We've put in 110.9 for the ILS on when we come to Leeds Bradford. Just going to get that ILS plate back up again, and I'm just going to geo-reference it into my system. There we go. Runway takeoff today. We're going to be taking off from Leeds Bradford at, let's have a quick look. Wind is 124 knots, so we're going to be taking off on runway 10, I think. Here at Blackpool, yeah. Runway 10, which will give us a straight out onto the VOR, which is fantastic. I'm just going to find 100 here. It's about there. I can just sort of see the white shining through. There we go, just checking the heading. It looks like 53, 53, that looks okay. This is all set up okay. So we need the transponder on standby. We're going to be squawking 7000 because we don't have anything else to squawk. and we're going to be listening to Unicom because we don't have anything else to listen to. So we will just choose com 122.8. We'll pop that on. Okay, so we're going to taxi to the left. So I'm going to taxi out to the right here and come back round onto the taxiway. We should be good for a taxi right now. I'm going to put 5,000 feet in the box here, ready for takeoff. I'm going to also tune. It's visual here, so I don't need to tune the Blackpool ILS in case of a return. In case of a problem after takeoff, we'll just fly the pattern and return. But I am going to tune the Leeds Bradford LBA, which is 402.5. So let's just do that for. Oh, there's no 0.5 on this. Interesting. Well, we'll switch it in anyway, and we'll see what we get. Okay, so we're all set up, so I think it's time for us to go. Nothing moving that way, nothing moving that way, people are clear. Blackpool traffic Golf Foxtrot November Romeo Hotel is taxiing for takeoff runway 10. Parking brake off, and to the right. Thanks very much, guys. Check brakes. Okay, we have to go to the end and then turn. I've gone up a little bit high there in my sitting position. It's amazing how much difference that makes just adjusting that sitting position. So just taxiing round his wing end here. Watching out for the old, of course, the obligatory already having problems with my pedals, and they haven't even got started yet. I'm just gonna do my run-up checks here where there's space at the end, so I can just come off to the side here and then turn back towards the wind. Okay, so run-up checks. 1700 RPM. There we go. And there's our drop. Back to both. And there's our drop. Back to both. Taxi lights on. Idling. idling is okay. Back to 1000 revs. Okay, so we've got temps good, pressure was good, fuel is good, EGT is good, landing lights and strobes on, and that gives us amps, so that is good. We can see, can't see anything there with the, we can see the back and we can see the rudders. Okay, I can see in the shadow the flight controls moving, so I'm happy with that. And we have got taxi light is on, and it doesn't sound like there's any other traffic, so I'm going to pop the strobe on and the landing lights on now, and I'm going to say Blackpool traffic, Golf Foxtrot November Romeo Hotel lining up, runway 10 for departure. I don't know what that plane's doing out in the field there at the end. It seems to be in a very strange place. So we have the runway here. We're going to line up because there is nobody else on the radio talking. So we're lined up, we can see we are on our track there for Pole Hill, so we're going to be making a straight out approach. Blackpool traffic Golf Romeo Hotel, taking off runway 10 for straight out approach to the east. Let's go. Power on. And we're flying. Yippee! And trimmer up. So we're going to climb to 5,000 feet. We've got no restriction at present at all, because there is no ATC available. So trimming for a good rate of climb. And I'm just going to track towards our VOR a little bit. So 1,000 feet, we can just increase our climb rate a little bit. It's a lovely day here. We could have gone VFR, but would have kind of spoilt the whole point of it. We should be squawking mode C, and we should be on Alt. Sorry people, but there's no controllers anyway. So it's looking lovely. Just hand flying at the moment. We're now exactly on our track towards Pole Hill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the autopilot. I'm going to put 5,000 feet in there. and I'm just gonna vertical speed mode on up to 500 feet per minute and change the altitude to 5,000 feet. And I'm going to select nav mode, which should keep us on that pole hill VOR. Yeah, just slightly concerned that it's gone a little bit mad there. So this is the only problem with flying on instruments and autopilots. You have to monitor what they are doing. You can't just set and forget. It doesn't work like that. So I have to watch these gauges, I have to watch what the aircraft is doing, what the instruments are doing, and actually I'm going to zoom in a bit now so that I'm only looking at the instruments and I'm not looking out of the window, which will just help to focus a little bit on what's going on. So we're straight at the moment, our speed is good and our climb is good, and we are locked on our VOR. We're going to increase our climb rate because we can, and get a better rate of climb to 5,000 feet. So the nose is lifted, we're climbing faster, and we're seeing on the vertical speed indicator an increase to 1,000 feet per minute. Now I'm just going to watch my speed gauge here because I would like to climb at about 80 to 90 knots. So if it's going to go down too much, which it looks like it is, I'm just going to reduce that vertical speed a little bit. I'm also going to check something that I didn't check on departure, which I should have rechecked, which is the weather for the barometric pressure 1016. Yeah, we are a little bit off. That is the current baro that we're working on. So we're going too slowly now, so we need to reduce our vertical speed very quickly. We should have been watching that. So we're inbound to Pole Hill. We are tracking nicely on there. Thankfully our equipment here is telling us the distance to go. So 24 nautical miles to go inbound to Pole Hill. Obviously you don't need this equipment, you can do all of this with this equipment here. But you just have to be aware of your, in order to find the distance you would need to know what distance you covered and speed and time, and also watch for this to change. But at this point in time you can obviously have DME equipment as well if necessary, but this is very useful, telling us how far we've got to go, 23 nautical miles. I'm also using Sky Demon, so I can see on Sky Demon that I'm tracking perfectly towards Pole Hill. And we're climbing at 90 knots now, 4,000 feet. What I'll need to do is just lean off the power a little bit. So we might need to be able to get 6,000 feet, 600 feet a minute rather. I keep saying everything wrong today. flying on instruments, so there's no need to look out of the window, which is why I've zoomed into the panel like this. But if we want to have a quick look, we can have a quick look where we are. Obviously, if the cloud base was a lot lower, then we wouldn't be able to see any of this. We'd be above the cloud, and there is some cloud actually there. So if we wanted to go that way, we would be underneath the cloud layer. So 100 knots. And travelling east, approximately 97 degrees. Are we travelling about that? 95 degrees. We're checking the 95 degree radial inbound to Pole Hill. POL, P-O-L. Papa, Oscar, Lima. We're going to 5,000 feet, 600 feet per minute, and we're arriving now at 500 feet, 5,000 feet. So what I'll need to do is I'll need to just back off the power as we come level. And I'm going to back off to 2,300 RPM, which will be our cruise power. There we go. And hopefully we will hold at 5,000 feet. For some strange reason, Flight Simulator keeps giving me 100 feet above on the autopilot, and it doesn't seem to even work if I go to 4,900 feet. It still stays 100 feet above. So I'm not sure how that works. 18 miles to go to Pole Hill. Little town down there. So yeah, I don't quite know why it does this, but I've had this issue with the autopilot the whole time in Flight Sim. The whole time I've been using it, and obviously I could do this and just adjust the altimeter calibration, and maybe that's, yeah, that might be what it's wanting. You see, there's something not quite right somewhere. So if I pop it down to 1013, then it's fine. And what are we doing here? So it looks like we should have possibly called Manchester South approach. Okay, so we're just conversing at the second. So we're just conversing privately there with the controller on Manchester South approach. So he isn't controlling this area, but he just contacted us with a private message there to let us know that we'd gone into controlled airspace, Class A controlled airspace. So as a general aviation aircraft flying VFR, we wouldn't have been allowed to enter controlled airspace. We would have had to stay below 4,500 feet. I've just pointed out, because I didn't realise there were any controllers covering this area, which there aren't, I've just pointed out to him that we have filed for an IFR flight, and he's just come back and said, oh, okay, no problem, now I feel dumb, have a good day. So yeah, that we were completely legal, we are filed for IFR, so we are okay to fly in the controlled airspace. And if this were a controlled proper flight, there would be controllers online obviously for this whole area, and they would have contacted us already. We would be already in contact with them all the way from Blackpool, so there wouldn't be any issue. It's likely in real life with this sort of flight that we would get vectored anyway, so we may not even fly to Pole Hill. We may have been vectored direct from leaving Blackpool, or we may have just been from Pole Hill vectored for an approach to intercept the ILS in Leeds Bradford. But as it stands, we're flying towards Pole Hill. We have 8 miles to go to Pole Hill, and then we will have to change our route. And what we will do is we'll change our course. At that point, we'll go on to nav mode, to heading mode. We'll change our course, and we'll intercept the radial outbound from Pole Hill, and we'll intercept the 064 radial. Because we're currently flying to, and then we'll be flying from, and that's quite important when working with the VOR radio. Also, please note, these videos are not intended to be flight training in any way, shape or form. I'm not a flight instructor, I'm just a avid flight simulator fan. So if you want to know how to fly instruments in Flight Simulator, by all means use this video for information of how to do that, but this is not real world training and does not replace real world training in any way, shape or form. What I'm doing here may be completely wrong. So I'm using Sky Demon, which I think I've mentioned before, and one of the issues, I'm using Sky Demon coupled with a piece of software called MS Bridge, and what that's doing is it's flights MSFS Bridge it's called, I think, and what it's doing basically is it's connecting it's giving the output from the SimPilot output of the position of Flight Simulator through to the iPad on the network. The problem I'm having is that it keeps constantly losing that information, and I have a feeling it's to do with my I'm going to try a different network. It might be to do with my network as opposed to do with Flight Simulator, so I'm just going to try it on my I've been having a problem with that with the iPad, and I think it's to do with where I am in the house and the 5 GHz Wi-Fi network. So I've changed it onto the 2.5 GHz, and we'll see if that's any better. I seem to remember this being the case the other day, that as soon as I changed it, it all worked fine. So we're approaching Leeds Bradford. I've got my approach plate in on Sky Demon. We're approaching and we're coming towards Pole Hill. We've got 3 miles to go. So at 1 mile to go, I'm going to go onto heading hold. In fact, I'm going to go onto heading hold now to just try check that heading hold is correctly synced up. So going to heading hold now. So we're now flying with the heading bug here, and what I'm going to do now is just adjust my course here to 064. That's about there roughly. .064°, and then as we go over Pole Hill, and we'll see the 2 change to from, and we can then turn to 064 and intercept that heading, that localizer beam, VOR beam. So still at 5,000 feet, speed is good, 105 knots. Engine is good. And there we go, we've just passed over the top there. So we're just waiting for there, and there's the change. And so we'll just spin around to 60. And we'll look for that beam coming in. Maybe just go a little more across. Just need to be on an intercept course, and we'll also be coming to our descent point, and we'll be descending to 4,000 feet at that point. And now we can see it starting to come, and then as it comes over we'll just go into nav mode. Don't want to do it too early because I don't want the aircraft to bank around all over the shop. Don't see any point in that. Okay, there we go, and we are intercepting, and the aircraft is turning. Speed is good. Vertical speed is good, 5,000 feet, we're still there, engine is good. Vacuum. I've just realised, because I've been talking away, that I haven't turned the taxi and landing lights off, so we'll keep them off there. Temperature's good, pressure's good, and fuel, we've still got plenty of fuel. So we've now left Pole Hill. We're now on our way from Pole Hill at 64 degrees, we can see from there. If we needed to return to Pole Hill, then we'd turn round and follow 179. We can see the distance increasing as we leave, and the distance is 17 nautical miles to overhead Leeds Bradford. So we need to keep our eyes on that. We're on 5,000 feet. We're still squawking 7,000 because there's no control anywhere here for us. We've got the LBA. We can't get that unfortunately because we don't have a radio capable of doing the 0.5, which is a little annoying. We could put Leeds Bradford into the second VOR, so that would be 110.9. So let's do that now. Let's just switch this over, pop that in there, put 110.9. 110.9. We'll switch that back. Yes, so we should see that appear in there with a little bit of information as to where that is. On the OBS to that should be 60, should be about the same. I'm going to put it in anyway. It's always best to be backed up, so I'm going to put it in here with the we need to go 154 degrees away from that, sorry 152, so I'm going to put that in here now, so we can use 152, so So that's about there, roughly, maybe there. Let's have a look out the window. I think I can see Leeds Bradford ahead. There we are. Excellent. So we're definitely on track. We don't need to look out the window to see that information, because we can see that we're 8 miles from Pole Hill. We can see that we're tracking it. We can see we're at 5,000 feet, and we know that there's 17 miles to run, so we're about less than 10 miles, so about 8 miles from Leeds Bradford. I'm going to descend now to 4,000 feet. Vertical speed of 500 feet per minute. To pull back the power so we don't overspeed. And you can see on my Sky Demon here that we have the plate, as I say, overlaid geo-reference to the airport. So when we come level with the airport, we will be able to use that. I've lost simulator connection again. That's very useful. So when we get down to 4,000 feet, then we'll start thinking we're 12 miles from from Pole Hill, so we're nearly over the airport. Let's start thinking about flying our approach. Now I just need to double check on my thing. So it's 4,000, then 2,300 to intercept the ILS. That's the important information. So I'm just going to select 154 on my heading here. So we're at 4,000 feet here, just letting our speed, I'm going to put our mixture up. I'm letting our speed go down a little bit because we don't want to fly too fast in our approach. Try and stay about 100 knots. We're 15 miles from Pole Hill. Just going to be close to overhead the airport now. $16 miles, so 1 mile to run. I'm going to put 2,300 in the box. Okay, there we go. So heading select, and now we're going to turn to 154. We're going to change our OBS to 154 here. We're going to switch our VOR over, and we're going to descend to 2,300 feet. going to adjust my heading slightly because I'm just a little bit off. And I've got the wrong thing in here, so it's 110.9. Pop that in. There we go. Okay, we come into 2,300. Got 110.9 in there. We're levelling off. We just let our speed bleed off a little bit. We want 152 in the OBS, not 154. So we want to be 7 DME from the ILS before we make our turn to intercept the ILS. So in a second we will just hoping to see this come across. But it isn't, which is a bit unfortunate. I can see the glide slope going up though, so that's good. So I'm going to put one stage of flaps down. A bit more power just to keep us around the same level. I'm going to turn us now just to follow 154 degrees because I've not quite got something right with the quite sure what I've done there. Definitely at the right height, and by our Sky Demon we are on the right track, so I've definitely set something incorrect here. Same 173, does that happen if we move it round? No. Not sure about that, so I'm going to set I'm on the right track now on heading select. I'm going to set 319, which is our inbound course. So approximately there. 180 knots, that's good. Got one stage of flaps down. And we're looking for, so we've got 7 DMA, so we're going to turn towards our intercept. Bring us round to intercepts now. There we go, and I'm gonna just hit approach, which will set us up for now. We should be able to see the runway. Can we see the runway? No, we're not quite on it yet. So we have intercepted the ILS and we have approach mode selected. So when we see, we can see the runway. Runway is there. Oh, it's moving around a little bit there. I'm just going to come up to this view now so we can see what we're doing. And after we have intercepted, so the glide slope's coming down, we've intercepted the approach. And it's going to intercept the glide slope there, and then we will start to descend towards the airport. Still on, so we can see we've got approach mode there and nav mode there. And there we go. So the aircraft is now, I'm going to just drop a little bit more power, pop in the flaps for landing. And we'll get our landing speed set up, approach speed. Which will be 75 knots, so it's about what we've got here now. About 70 knots, 70, 75 knots. And then 65 for short final. Leeds traffic, Golf Foxtrot November Romeo Hotel on finals for runway 32. So there we go, 75 knots, well 72 knots. I'm just going to adjust the heading bug here in case we have to make a missed approach, which is to go straight ahead at 319 degrees and come back round, do the approach again. We're good, we're on the autopilot, we're on approach, we're currently descending. I should have checked what Leeds 1016, so we're on the right, and the elevation is 681 feet, so we're about 1,000 feet above the ground now. So at 500 feet above the ground we're going to take the autopilot off. It's going to descend, drop our power a little bit now to get onto our final approach speed of 65 knots. Fully established on the ILS. A little bit of wind. Let's have a look what the wind is. 8 knots. So we're approaching 500 feet. So 500 feet and the autopilot's coming out. So we're landing manually now. Little wobbly. Little extra speed. I don't know what happened then with me viewpoint. It's like I can only have really zoomed out or really in. It's really annoying. Ah well. There we go. Yeah, it's gone really weird. Right at the last minute, it's not what I want at all. Lots of runway here, so we can just come back, glide down. Brakes. Lovely. Flaps up. Leeds traffic, Golf Romeo Hotel vacated runway. And there we go. We have landed at Leeds, flying fully on instruments. To get ourselves up this slope here. Oh, we've stuck. We got stuck on the slope. And this is the Leeds Airport by Orbex. It's a very nice airport. It's one of my favourite ones. And they've done a very good job. Just going to pull up and park up here. There we go. Parking brake on. And we didn't put the landing. Not doing very well. Strobes off. Engine off. Avionics off. Well, there we go. Thank you very much for joining me here on the flight. I hope you've enjoyed the flight today. We didn't do too badly there. We made maybe a couple of mistakes, but not too bad. And I hope you'll join me again to fly back from Leeds to Blackpool. Thanks very much, and see you again soon.